Hello and good early morning, Facebook family. I am Dr. DrAnnetteMD, your board certified pediatric cardiologist, coming to you live from the great state of Virginia. So now we're 17 days into the new year, and hopefully you all are accomplishing all your New Year's goals and resolutions that you've set for yourself. I personally have slacked a little bit. We had a big snowstorm in the DC area, and the kids were home, and it sort of threw me off a little bit. So I'm hopefully tomorrow my goal is to get back in the saddle and restart the exercise regimen that I made for myself. I will say the one thing I have not slacked off on, though, is doing these weekly Facebook Lives. And hopefully you all are gaining something out of it. And my whole goal of this was to promote good heart health. Because as you may or may not know, cardiovascular disease is the #1 cause of death, not just in the United States, but worldwide. So it's a pretty big deal for us. So last week, I talked about how water promotes good heart health, and it does so in 3 ways: by preventing dehydration, by promoting good circulation, and the fact that water has 0 calories. So you can drink as much of it as you want and not worry about gaining weight. It's a great appetite suppressant. I will say if you have underlying medical conditions that cause you to retain water, you want to be careful and talk to your doctor about how much to drink. Today, I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about kids, the children, and why it's important to promote good heart health in kids and how we can do it. So I want to give you some facts. Okay, so I'm going to turn to my laptop. So I want to give you 3 facts as to why we need to promote heart health in kids. So the first fact is that nearly 60%, so close to 2/3 of children who are overweight and between the ages of 5 to 17 years of age have at least one risk factor for heart disease. And 25% of this group has 2 factors for heart disease, meaning when we say risk factors, we're talking about they have high blood pressure, they have high cholesterol, or they're pre-diabetic. So that's of concern. The second fact I want to tell you is that nearly 1/3 of kids or teenagers in the United States are overweight or obese. This is 3 times what it was from 1963. Big deal. Then the third fact I want to tell you is that less than 1/3 of high school students are getting the required amount of physical activity that's been recommended. So that means that 2/3 of children are not getting the prescribed activity levels that they're supposed to have at their age. So that's concerning as well. And as a clinician, I can easily tell you that in my office, on any given day, I see kids that have hypertension, have high cholesterol, or overweight, or pre-diabetic. So it's real and it's out there. And I've seen kids less than 2 years of age with these cardiovascular risk factors. So we definitely, as the adults and as a society, need to do something about that before these kids succumb to the long-term effects of heart disease. And as a mom, as a clinician, as a pediatric cardiologist, that's my goal for my kids and for your kids. And kids doesn't have to be your biological kids. You can be an auntie, an uncle, a grandparent. We just all need to be invested in promoting good heart health in our kids. So there are 4 ways, I like lists, 4 ways that I believe that we can promote heart health in kids. The first one is to exercise as a family. I believe that if kids see the adults in their lives making health a priority, they're going to want to do the same thing. Kids imitate what adults do. So if we're doing all the healthy stuff, they'll think to themselves, well, my adult loved one is making health a priority, so maybe I should too. And just to give you an example, I remember growing up, my dad, we used to have a stationary bike in our apartment growing up, and my dad religiously would work out on this bicycle. So we were young. When he wasn't around, we'd hop on the stationary bike and just go crazy with it. because we saw how much she enjoyed exercise and wanted to duplicate that, do the same thing. And I remember my mom, this was back in the 80s, she was a big Richard Simmons fan. So at a certain hour during the day, we'd turn on the TV. This is the big box TV, not the flat screens you see nowadays, but we turn on the TV and, exercise with Richard Simmons. This was like way before Sweating to the Oldies, but and we had a good time. My mom showed that she enjoyed exercise, she had fun, and we had fun. So seeing that planted the seeds in me how important exercise is. And so I believe if you all exercise with your kids, that they too will see how important it is and want to make it a priority in their lives from a young age onwards, because the heart is a muscle and it needs to be exercised as well too. And as I mentioned in a previous Facebook Live, exercise helps to decrease cholesterol, helps to decrease blood pressure, and helps, maintain or decrease weight as well. So let's exercise. Now, the second way that we can promote heart health in kids is by making wise food choices, because we are what we eat, right? And by that, I mean, make sure that you're eating foods that are low in salt, low in cholesterol, low in saturated fats, low in refined sugars, all of which contribute to heart disease. Recommendations would be eating more fruits and vegetables. Make sure that you're eating foods high in omega-3, such as your fish, foods high in fiber, such as whole grain wheats and your nuts. Things like that all contribute to good heart health. Because the thing is, like I said, kids imitate adults. If they see you eating unhealthy foods, they're going to do the same thing. Easily, I have to tell you funny. So easily in my clinic, when I'm sitting there seeing a patient who has high cholesterol, I'll talk to the child, the patient, and ask them, so what are you eating? What are you eating, little Timothy, who's about 10 years of age? And they'll sheepishly look at their mom and dad not wanting to say anything. And so their parents will jump in and say, oh, little Timmy, he likes to eat his burgers. He likes to eat his fries from such and such fast food restaurant. And, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, well, 10-year-old little Timmy is not driving through the drive-through of such and such fast food restaurant, meaning that, our kids will eat whatever we give them. So we have to be wise in the food choices that we do give them. And, I'll be the first to admit, as a working mom and a husband who works, some days are just really hard to make a home-cooked meal. You're running from place to place, picking up kids. So I've had weeks where my kids have had more fast food than they should. But in the back of my mind, and hopefully in the back of your minds, you're cognizant of trying to maintain or obtain a good heart healthy lifestyle. Now, the third way that we can promote heart healthiness is to limit screen time to 2 hours. Now, this is a struggle for me, because easily you see that your child is sitting there very content on their devices, whether it's an iPad, an iPhone, Kindle, and they're happy. And you're happy because you're trying to get work done. Okay, so it's very tempting to leave your child there in the corner for 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 hours so that you can get your work done. But truthfully, they shouldn't be getting more than 2 hours of screen time per day. And the reason is when kids are sitting there like that, they're inactive and they're more likely to start snacking. And when we snack, we're not necessarily eating healthy foods. And this contributes to the cardiovascular risk factors and increases the chance of your child getting heart disease, which we don't want. So get them off the devices. So the fourth way that we can promote heart health in our kids is by making sure that our children are going to their yearly physical exams with their pediatrician or family physician. And when you go, make sure that the clinic or office that you're at gets a full set of vital signs. And vital signs should include height, weight, blood pressure, pulse, respiratory rate, and a BMI, body mass index, which gives you an idea of where your weight lies, whether you're underweight, at the right weight, or overweight. And the reason for these yearly physicals and getting your vital signs checked is because if there are any abnormalities, it cues your physician and cues you as a parent as to whether you should further monitor or do a deep dive into why there's an abnormality in the vital sign. And when I say abnormality, I'm meaning like maybe the blood pressure is a little bit high, or maybe you're noticing as your pediatrician is plotting out your child's weight on the growth curve that they're a bit overweight. It cues you and lets you know that these are things I need to continue to observe, or something that we need to do something about now, you know. So it's key that you're making sure that your kids are going to their exams as they're supposed to, and getting your physician on board if there are any issues. The second thing I would say to do when you're going to these physical exams is letting your physician know if there's any significant family history of heart disease, meaning if there's anyone in the family who has died suddenly for known or unknown reasons, or anyone in the family who has significant heart disease, if there are a good number of people who have high blood pressure or high cholesterol or have had heart attacks, let your physician know, because that will tell them, it'll cue to them, well, let me ask more questions, or maybe you need to see a specialist like myself, pediatric cardiologist, to do a deeper dive into making sure that your child's heart is fine, is normal. Because you want to think of your physicians, whether you're an adult or a child, as your partner in promoting good health, promoting good heart health. So to recap, 4 ways in which we can promote good heart health in our children is to 1, exercise as a family, 2, make good, wise food choices, 3, limit the screen time, and 4, making sure that your children are going to their yearly physical exams. So hopefully this has been helpful. Before I sign off, I just want to let those involved in the government shutdown that my thoughts and prayers are with you, and hopefully this will all end soon. Until next week, guys, have a good one and take care.